Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Reader1717, and I thought I'd do a little bit of a different video. I have a haul coming, but I'm still waiting for one item to reach my address. It was an eBay purchase, but you'll see more of that once I actually get that item and put my video out. But what this video is basically my list, well, my top 10 list of movies that I would like to see get a Criterion film release. I'm not going to go over all 10 movies in this video. I'm going to kind of give every movie its own little 5 minutes of fame, so to speak. So the first movie that I'm going to go with here is Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. Actually, probably my first favorite Tarantino flick, and second to that would be Django. I know a lot of people would argue whether this or Pulp Fiction should hold the number one spot for his movies, but I actually like this more because this was also my first real introduction to Tarantino. I mean, I had seen True Romance and I knew he was about his involvement with that, but this was really his movie. And it was basically, I think it debuted in January of 1992, so many years ago at this point, and it was considered an independent flick, and it had like a pretty low budget for what the movie was. I think the budget was around $1.2 million US. And as you guys are all aware, this is basically a heist film with the caveat that there is no actual heist that takes place in it. But I've listed some of the reasons why I think that this movie, beyond the cool factor of it, why do I think it deserves, something like a Criterion release? Because for one, this is just timeless. This is a timeless movie. It came out, like I said, many moons ago, but you could put this movie in today, and if if this was the first time you were ever seeing it, you would be just as, I think, entertained and sort of mesmerized or hypnotized by it as other people who saw it for the first time were back in 1992 or 93, whenever it is that people saw this movie initially, even after that, obviously. So I think it has a certain timelessness to it. It doesn't really date itself. It's really a piece of cinema. It's a piece of art, and it's a film that just stands alone, and it holds up. The story holds up. Everything holds up. Also, this movie has, in my opinion, one of the best opening prologues in modern cinema. And why I focused on that is because it's just become, much like the dialogue in a Tarantino flick, it has become somewhat of his signature. Plus, it's just, there was when I first saw this movie, I had not experienced a film that was like this. And I did not, just the riffing on pop culture and just the way, just everything, the way it was delivered and set up. I think it took you in. At least it did to me as a person watching the film. So there's that. Also, the soundtrack. I mean, you really have to talk about the soundtrack when you talk about Reservoir Dogs. It's like a 1970 rock and funk type of soundtrack. And Tarantino has the ability to write scenes, I think, with music in his head. And, he's actually even said that, I believe, in a few interviews that I've watched with him, where he will often listen to music and let the music dictate to him how that scene should play out and what should happen to it. It sort of is an added bonus of inspiration. And the soundtrack for this movie, there are lots of movies that have amazing soundtracks. I think Guardians, the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, has one of the best soundtracks I've heard in modern cinema for the longest time. So, I mean, the soundtrack for Tarantino flicks, though, it's so integral to the movie a lot of the time. It truly sets the tone. And he really does seek out to have the right music. He doesn't just put something in as a filler. The music really is something that is unto itself. And I think the soundtrack, in terms of sales, was just as popular as the movie. Um, let's see. Um, the dialogue. I was talking about the prologue before, but just the dialogue. Again, it, it's amazing. And it really has become a signature of a Tarantino film, that you have this very witty, this very quick, this just sarcastic, in your face dialogue. The man can craft an antidote. I mean, not antidote, that's my bad. Anecdote. Anyways, the man can craft an anecdote, and he knows how to deliver it, and his characters know how to deliver it. And the actors who play those characters know how to deliver it. And it's just um it's just all part of the charm of what makes this movie, and all of his movies, really so entertaining. Next, for me, would be the non-linear structure of the film. Um, its usage of like flashbacks to tell a story of who the players are, where they came from, what are their motivations, and he knows how to weave this with what is going on currently and happening in real time in the story. So definitely the structure of the movie for sure. Um, what else? For this movie in particular, I would have to say the color code names, and in general, Tarantino loves to give his characters like really cool names, names that just stick out in your head. And when he does that, he doesn't only just give these characters these really cool and funny names and whatever, but he likes to create a mythology around these characters. So they have to sometimes earn that name. I mean, in this particular movie, they were given that name by someone, but still, you know, though it seems generic in this film that, okay, you're Mr. Brown and you're Mr. Pink, like that whole scene about, you know, a bunch of dudes fighting over who's going to be Mr. Pink and who wants to be Mr. Black, and the reasoning as to why the the head honcho said, no, you guys aren't picking your own names. I'm going to give them to you because I don't want the bullshit of you guys fighting about them. I mean, just all of it. It's just the way he constructs his characters. They resonate with you still to today. If you say Mr. Pink, people know what movie you're referencing. So um, that's definitely a plus and a vote for yes in my column. Um, Also, the cinematography. This movie was heavily inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing in the way that Tarantino really loved this isolated location, you know, where people are just super, super paranoid and they just don't trust one another. It builds tension. Everybody's confined and trapped like rats with each other. No one knows who to trust. No one really knows what's going on. It escalates, and he just, you know, he lets the audience feed off of this tension that he creates, and it all happens in this one place. And the cinematography in this particular movie is so gritty, and it just lends a level of authenticity to the film. It really makes you believe that you're watching a heist that's gone just completely batshit crazy, and it's just completely derailed. So the last point I want to make about why I think this movie deserves a Criterion release, or I'd like to see one for it, is, you know, it's a fucking entertaining movie. At the end of the day, people who watch this film, I have never heard anybody say they hate this film. I've never heard anybody say that they weren't thoroughly entertained. Whether you liked it or not, really, I think people were still entertained by it. I think when it first came out, especially when the ear scene happened, I think a lot of audiences were like taken aback by that. Um, but even that kind of lended to the whole cult rise of the popularity of this movie, because I don't think a lot of people really hyped up this movie when it first came out. It really got sort of a second life in that whole being a cult movie, in developing a following of people who love Tarantino movies, but really fell in love with this movie when they saw it in particular. So this is just a damn good movie. I mean, in my opinion, anyways. And for that, I also think it deserves a Criterion release, and it's rewatchable. Like I have seen this movie many times, and I would see it again. And for me, that's important, because if I'm going to own something and whatever, I want to be able to like watch it more than once. You can watch a movie and it could be good, but it may not be rewatchable, whereas this movie is, and I think that's really, really important. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. To all my new subs, thank you for checking out my channel and hitting that subscribe button. I never ever ask anybody to subscribe. I feel like, you know, if you guys like what you see or hear, you'll sub. If not, you won't. Um, as always, I welcome comments. Tell me what you guys think. What are some of the movies that you guys would like to see made into a Criterion collection film and become part of the library for Criterion? Let me know down below. Like I said, I'm going to have 10 of these, and this is the first, so got 9 more to go. I'll be putting these videos out every now and then. Let me know your thoughts on Reservoir Dogs. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with anything I said, or do you disagree? As always, I love to hear what you guys have to say. So like I said, drop me a line. And it's Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I'm getting ready to watch the Leafs and the Boston Bruins go at it again tomorrow night. Saturday, they played last night. Even though I'm a Toronto girl, I'm a Boston Bruins hockey fan. Gets me a lot of hate in the 416. But yeah, so needless to say, that game didn't go well. So I have to nurse my wounds today, probably watch a good movie, and then get ready to see my Bruins make a comeback tomorrow against Toronto. So anyways, guys, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.